information and provide LIHEAP assistance to their tribe members as well. So we don't do anything specific to that, but as I said, they do those types of things. We've been asked before to come and do some community outreach as far as providing information about the program or just speaking to the program at various meetings. And so we've done that more that type of thing, like I said, than a specific outreach effort. And as I said before, that is one of the things really that we would like to try to work harder on, is to get more of that outreach out there, because in some ways we feel like we're serving a large group of our population, but in other ways, we still feel like we always have someone who applies and tells us they've never heard of this program. So we know we need the outreach out there for not just us, but for all programs.
Thank you. And I'm just curious, like, do you know when the last time you revisited like your state tribal agreement with
It's been a couple of years. They just started working with us actually, I think about 4 years ago. So like I said, it's been a couple of years since we have revisited that. And so that is one of our things on the list this year, to revisit with them, because we really wanted to try to do that, if not every year, at least every couple of years.
Yeah, and if you need any kind of help with that process, like facilitating that process, let us know. That's something that I know we're looking into, is just looking at state tribe agreements, and just, it's been interesting to see like when the last time an agreement was updated with some states.
Right, and I appreciate that, because with that being new to us too, at the time I think Acom and Kate assisted us with some of that, but it's still very new.
Okay, and for the federal team, does anyone have anything to add on outreach and coordination before we move on? Cool.
I did have one thing I wanted to ask too, and I'm not sure if this falls in the outreach and coordination process as well too, but we also provide a list of the LIHEAP recipients to our partners at DHCD for weatherization. So I didn't know if you wanted to have them speak to a little bit of what they do with that information, or or if this was not the time.
No, I welcome like kind of input from weatherization, and then we'll get to weatherization specifics later, but that, this will be good to kind of at least tie these topics in together.
So for us, Denise and her team, they'll send us a list of clients that have received fuel, cooling, or crisis assistance, and we pass that along to our sub-grantees that provide the services in those localities. We also use those names that are provided to us in regards to our reporting that's due for the household report and the performance measures, just to make sure that we take out any duplicate counts for those jobs.
Thank you. And then we'll definitely get into weatherization later. So the next topic that we are going to discuss is leveraging and reach. I did see in your model plan that you did utilize leveraging and reach, and there's not a lot of states that utilize this, so I'm really curious as to like, how the state leverages additional resources to support like eligible households using this.
So a couple of the things that we've done in the past is we do work with our two largest electricity providers, who basically, we have 120 localities in Virginia, and they provide assistance in 99 of those. So they cover almost the entire state, but we work with them for our security deposits so that if we approve someone for security deposit, then those two particular vendors do not immediately bill us for that. They will actually, they may not bill us at all if the customer over the course of 12 months makes all of their utility payments on time and actually is able to pay their portion of their security deposit and pay everything. Then, like I said, we may not end up being billed at all for that. If they pay a portion of it and then default, then those two electricity vendors can come back and bill us for the remainder. But it saves, with the program, it saves a little bit in the fact that we don't have to automatically pay out the full amount for those security deposits. And like I said, in some cases, we wind up not having to pay anything. So that's something they've been doing at probably at least 15 years and want to continue to do. So we've been able to, like I said, successfully do that. We haven't set that up with, we only have one of our gas vendors now that participates with that because the others just have not been interested. But we hope that in the future we can get some others who will be interested in doing the same thing on the natural gas side as well.
Okay. And do you all happen to kind of receive any contributions or donations for this?
We don't.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
And for leveraging calculations, like how are your leveraging amounts calculated and documented?
We have in our system, there is actually a way for us to record those security deposits, how much we actually approve for the customer and how much we wind up paying for them. And so then we can pull a report out that will show us that information. Those two vendors, by the way, those two vendors as well as others also have some of their own energy assistance type programs that can help the customers. So that we don't track those, but they do track those. And like I said, they use different application process, and in some cases they can assist the customer along with energy assistance. In some cases they can assist the customer if the customer is not eligible for energy assistance. But like I said, we have several of our gas utility vendors that have that available, and then several of our electricity vendors that also have that type of assistance available. We also 2 years ago now, started in Virginia doing the percentage of income payment program, or PIP, so that we, and actually that is also with the same two major electricity providers that offers assistance to our customers so that they can reduce what they're actually paying on their electric bills as well. And at this point, we are still having customers that are receiving energy assistance as well as PIP. I know some states let you do one or the other, but so because of the fact that ours is so new, we wanted to give people the option to do both. And then at some point in the future, we may look at reducing the amount of energy assistance that they receive if they're enrolled in PIP, or not having them receive anything. But that has also been helpful for several customers as well.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I'm curious like to hear about like so the documentation that is maintained for um these activities. Like you say you have documentation.
Like I said, for
Yeah.
the security deposits, we do have an area within our case management system where that information is entered. And then, like I said, we don't have a report that generates on a regular basis of that information. We would have to request a report,
Okay.
but we can request a report of what has been paid for those.
Okay. Yeah, because I think in the documentation, I don't think we saw anything when like applicable to reach, but if you can share anything that that would be great.
Okay. And then you
Mm.
asked about donations, if we
Mhm.
can receive donations. We have a home energy assistance program fund that is set up so that if a taxpayer, for example, when they pay their income taxes for the state of Virginia, wanted to check the box to contribute a portion of their refund or all of their refund for energy assistance, they can do that. Typically, we receive less than $1,000 in donations for that. So what we've done with that fund is, in years past, they've let it build up for several years, and then we will remove the funds from that and put that towards our fuel assistance program so that we'll have a little additional funding for that. But like I said, it is typically not very much. That was originally established years ago for one of the utility companies actually to make a donation because they wanted to assist the customers. And so that fund was set up, but we haven't, other than that one donation from the utility company, they haven't done any others. Like I said, now it's just the checkbox on the tax form as a way that individuals can contribute.
That's nice of those who contributed to that.
There's probably about 15 different things you can contribute to on there now, and I always look when I look at it, I'm like, oh, there we are.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Yeah, is there anyone else who would like to add anything on leveraging and reach before we move on? John?
Yeah, so I actually, so if I heard correctly, she said that these donations that customers may make through whatever portal or source they do, it's a conscious, it's a checkbox of what kind of program they want to donate to. So in this case, we're talking about energy assistance. So they will donate, which is a small amount relative to everything, but maybe $1,000 or less will be like at some point moved over to assist the energy assistance program.
Correct.
And there's a what way like giving benefits, because it's a donation, then it comes over as a benefit. So how is it used, I guess?
We just add it to the amount that we're offering in our fuel assistance allocation for that year. So for example, if we're allocating $45 million, then we would add, if that fund at that point is $5,000, we would add that $5,000 to it. And it is actually tracked. Our budget area has tracking of that information. And then if we do that, then like I said, they also track it to show that withdrawal's been made from that account. It's been added to the funding or used for the funding of the fuel assistance benefits. And it just, historically, it's just always been in the fuel assistance benefits rather than across all of the different components. So we've just continued to do that. And like I said, I think there's only been, in the time that I've been working with the program, there's only been one withdrawal and maybe one prior to that. So as I said, it takes a while to build it up a little bit, but
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I think that's a new program.
Yeah. Yeah, it's my first time I hear about this. Um, Perfect. So now we're gonna touch on agency designations and subgrantees, and I know we talked a little bit. I know you've mentioned some of these details, but um, so can you describe your overall LIHEAP program structure? Like, I know, like, is the program's administered directly through subgrantees? Like, how many agencies are involved? And like, how do you ensure full geographic coverage?
so with the fuel, crisis, and cooling components, we do operate those through our local departments of social services across the state. And as I said, there's 120 local departments. They are that is statewide coverage and everything. And we in Virginia consider it to be state supervised, locally administered for all of our programs, not just for energy assistance. So those local departments typically are taking applications, are processing applications. They are actually the ones who are entering the information to generate a crisis or cooling payment. Fuel assistance is a little different because it's so large. We have some vendors who bill us electronically, and then those payments, those files are processed electronically, and those payments are generated through VACMS. But we also then have some vendors who, for fuel assistance, can't do that. So we hire temporary staff here at our home office that actually key in all of that information to make those payments. But as I said, the vast majority of everything is being administered through those 120 local departments of social services. And then on the weatherization side, of course, we have a portion of our funding that goes to Department of Housing and Community Development to work with their providers to also administer the weatherization piece of our LIHEAP program.
Thank you. And then you said that the 120 captures basically the entire state.
It is the entire state.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I like that, state supervised, locally administered. Now, how are local administrating agencies selected? Like, what criteria do you use? How are like CAAs prioritized?
For our components, as I said, it is just the fact that they're a local Department of Social Services and part of our Virginia Department of Social Services group that we are supervising. So for them, there isn't any application process or any agreements that we sign with them to operate this. Like I said, it is just part of what they have to do as part of our group. And for the weatherization piece of it, I will let Tim and Michelle speak to their process.
A little bit about Michelle can add again on Tim. We have 14 sub-grantees. They cover the entire state. And they there's been a lot of continuity over the years with the sub-grantees. I think right now it's, and we have had on occasion some performance issues with sub-grantees, and in that case we've either worked within the network to maybe reassign, going through a public process, or we ran an application. These are all part of DOE regulations and guidance for how we would do that.
Okay. And you said it was 14? Okay. Thank you. Okay. Next, we're going to talk about like program changes. Like,
Can I ask
well,
a quick question?
yeah.
Carlos, if
Yeah,
you
yeah,
don't
yeah.
mind?
Yeah,
I was just curious, Tim, when was the last time that y'all had to redesignate? You had to find another agency. Has it been recently that you had to go through that process?
An application in late 2023, and selected someone, and we're actually going through a process right now for a small remote area of Virginia that the current provider, not for performance reasons, just it's logistically hard, wants to give it up. And the community action agency there would like to take it. So it's just two small counties on the eastern shore, isolated, and it's actually the best solution. And so, and we're following DOE guidelines on how to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So now we're going to talk about program changes, like what major changes have occurred since the last review. And thinking about this, like, is there any policy or system updates, organizational changes, or any COVID era flexibility still in place?
That's a lot.
It's
Like, oh my
yeah.
gosh, I need to look check this. Okay.
Yeah,
so,
I can put it in the chat too. Will that help?
No.
Okay.
No, I just need to remember all of those things, not necessarily your question.
Okay.
Okay, so thinking back to our last review and everything, no real big system changes on our side. We've made minor changes as far as to improve things with the application, with the reporting process, things like that. But we haven't made any major changes to anything. One of the things we did during, and this is not really a flexibility, but it's just a new program that we or a new process that we set up. One of the things we started doing during COVID was we've always had fuel assistance pre-approval process, but we also implemented a cooling assistance pre-approval process so that we could help reduce, at that time, we were trying to reduce the foot traffic of people coming in and people actually having to apply and get things through the mail and everything like that. So, and we've continued because that was something that our customers, as well as our local departments of social services, have really, really liked. So we have continued with doing that pre-approval process because it cuts kind of in half what the local agencies have to do as far as processing applications. And for our pooling assistance, we have a pretty short window of a application period anyway. So like I said, that's been helpful. We, as I mentioned, this is not really a system change for us, but added the percentage of income payment program, which goes side by side with the energy assistance. And so that has been helpful for the customers. Organizational changes, we have just, because with us here, we typically get a new commissioner each time we get a new governor in Virginia. So we just got a new governor in January, just got a new commissioner in January. We were super lucky in that we have someone as our commissioner now who's been commissioner before, so that he knows the things that we do here. But like I said,